The silence of space was disrupted as the sleek, metallic hulls of the alien Armada appeared in Earth's orbit. The vast fleet, a force forged from the most advanced technology in the known galaxy, belonged to the Nezari Empire, a civilization known for its ruthless conquests and absolute rule over countless worlds. They had come expecting compliance, but what they encountered was anything but submission. The Nezari flagship, the Velora, floated menacingly above Earth's atmosphere. Its commander, Supreme Admiral Talon, gazed down at the planet with a mixture of disdain and indifference. Talon was a figure shrouded in legends throughout the Nezari Empire, a tactician, a conqueror, and a leader who had never known defeat. Standing over 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like polished silver and eyes that burned with an amber glow, he was feared across countless worlds. Talon looked over his command deck, where his officers worked diligently, and addressed the room with his deep, resonant voice. "This will be no more than an exercise," he said, smirking. "Send a message to Earth. We give them a choice: surrender peacefully and be absorbed into the Nezari Empire, or face annihilation." Across the galaxy, the Nezari had expected Earth to fold without resistance. They had studied the planet's history, its conflicts, its weaknesses, and its internal divisions. To the Nezari, Earth appeared a fractured world, an insignificant dot in a sea of stars. But they would soon learn that they had misjudged humanity. On Earth, the warning from the Nezari was met with panic and disbelief. World leaders scrambled to find a solution, knowing that the Armada hovering above them was far beyond anything their militaries could withstand. But amidst the chaos, a meeting took place in an undisclosed location. Dr. Eliza Marin, one of Earth's leading scientists in quantum mechanics, had been contacted by none other than General Harlan Core, head of Earth's loosely assembled defense initiative. A grizzled veteran with a tactical mind, Core was respected globally for his unwavering dedication to protecting humanity. "We're not going to survive this by fighting as separate nations," Core said to the room filled with world leaders and top scientists. "They see us as fractured. But we can prove them wrong." Dr. Marin, known for her work on experimental energy systems, proposed a plan that was equal parts audacious and desperate. "We have a chance," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "Using the quantum cascade array we've developed, we can deploy energy fields that could shield large areas. And if we amplify the signal, we could disrupt their communication networks." Skepticism filled the room, but General Core stepped in. "We don't need them to believe we'll succeed," he said. "We need them to believe we'll fight." With little choice, the leaders agreed. Earth would unite as one against the alien threat. A global coalition was formed, pooling resources and knowledge, building an unconventional defense that was their only hope. The Nezari's patience wore thin when Earth did not immediately comply with their demands. Talon ordered a targeted assault, launching hundreds of smaller fighter ships from the Velora and other capital ships. The fleet moved in a synchronized ballet of destruction, each pilot linked by the Nezari's powerful collective consciousness system, which allowed them to communicate in real time. But as the fighters entered Earth's atmosphere, their comm systems faltered. Static and interference clogged the lines, and the smooth synchronization of the Nezari fighters began to break down. Earth's quantum cascade array had been activated, scrambling their systems. "Report!" Talon shouted as his navigational officer struggled to regain control over the fighters. "We're losing connections with our vanguard, Supreme Admiral," the officer replied, her voice tense. "Their ships are colliding with each other." Talon watched in disbelief as some of the Nezari fighters spiraled out of control, slamming into each other and plummeting into the ground below. It was an unthinkable sight, Nezari pilots, among the most disciplined in the galaxy, crashing like novices. He narrowed his amber eyes, realizing that Earth's inhabitants were more resourceful than anticipated. As the first wave of the Nezari assault crumbled, General Core wasted no time rallying Earth's defenses. Military bases worldwide coordinated strikes, launching Earth's newly developed plasma torpedoes toward the Nezari ships that ventured too close. In one such battle, Lieutenant Ava Raines, a skilled pilot from the European Federation, flew a modified jet equipped with Earth's improvised plasma weaponry. Her squadron, the Phoenix Wing, was tasked with engaging Nezari scout ships. Ava's voice crackled through the comm system as she encouraged her squadron. "Remember, they bleed like we do. Stay together, stay sharp," she shouted as she deftly maneuvered her jet through the chaotic airspace. Ava's targeting system locked onto an enemy scout ship. With a squeeze of the trigger, she sent a plasma torpedo hurtling toward the enemy, and watched as the Nezari ship erupted in a brilliant explosion. Cheers erupted over her comm channel as other squadron members followed suit. The news of small victories like this spread rapidly. Around the globe, people took to the streets, chanting and waving flags, filled with a fierce hope. Against all odds, humanity was holding its ground. Back on the Velora, Talon felt the cracks in his plan widening. He summoned his second-in-command, Captain Gyra, a cold and calculated strategist known for her loyalty and unflinching logic. "Talon, this resistance is unexpected but still trivial," she said, her tone confident. "Once we disable their quantum cascade array, their defenses will fall apart." But Talon wasn't so certain. Humanity's resilience gnawed at him, and for the first time, he questioned whether they had underestimated the Earthlings' resolve. Their technology was primitive compared to the Nezaris, but they had adapted quickly, exploiting weaknesses he hadn't foreseen. "Prepare a ground assault," he commanded. "If we can't dominate them from the skies, we'll crush them on their own soil." Captain Gyra nodded, her silver eyes gleaming. "The Nezari will not falter." The Nezari deployed legions of ground troops, towering, armored soldiers that stood twice the height of a human, armed with plasma cannons that could vaporize entire buildings. Earth's cities became battlegrounds as the invaders landed, moving with the precision of a well-oiled machine. In the heart of New Tokyo, a resistance cell led by Captain An Takahashi was preparing an ambush. An, a former engineer, had taken up arms with his team of rebels, scientists, mechanics, and civilians determined to defend their home. As the Nezari soldiers marched into the city, An's team detonated charges hidden beneath the streets, sending chunks of concrete and twisted metal into the advancing alien ranks. The Nezari, caught off guard by the guerrilla tactics, momentarily faltered. An raised his voice over the crackling of explosions. "They think they are invincible, but we know this city better than they ever will. Move, move." The rebels struck with everything they had, utilizing makeshift weapons, traps, and hit-and-run tactics. They wove through alleys, using the towering skyscrapers as cover, forcing the Nezari to fight on unfamiliar ground. Meanwhile, back on the Velora, Talon seethed with frustration. Reports streamed in from all over the globe, detailing unexpected losses on the ground. The humans were adapting faster than he could have anticipated. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he turned to Captain Gyra. "Why do they fight so fiercely? They have no chance of winning." Captain Gyra pondered this, her usually stoic expression softened. "Perhaps it is because they believe they have something we can't understand, a belief in their right to choose, to exist on their own terms." Talon scoffed at the notion. In the Nezari Empire, the concept of individual choice was non-existent, the collective consciousness dictated all. He dismissed her insight and ordered an escalation in the assault. But Gyra's words stayed with him, igniting a spark of doubt he couldn't shake. Back on Earth, Dr. Marin was racing against time. The quantum cascade array was Earth's greatest asset, but it had a critical flaw: it required an immense amount of energy, and each time it was activated, the strain on the power grid increased. If they pushed it too far, the entire system could collapse. Knowing this, she worked tirelessly in an underground facility, searching for a solution. She was joined by Lucas Hale, a young prodigy and hacker, who had been instrumental in breaking into the Nezari's encrypted communications. "Dr. Marin," Lucas said, reviewing the data streaming across his screen, "we have a limited window to disrupt their flagship systems. If we can send a pulse through their collective consciousness network, it might sever their communication entirely. Eliza looked at him, hope sparking in her eyes. If we succeed, we'll cripple their command structure. Dr. Marin and Lucas worked feverishly through the night, every second precious as the Nezari closed in on Earth's major cities. The Quantum Cascade Array, QCA, was Earth's last hope of halting the Nezari advance by disrupting the collective consciousness, a lifeline that allowed the Nezari to think and act as one. If they could send a high-frequency pulse through this network, it might sever the link, leaving the Nezari soldiers disoriented and vulnerable. Lucas glanced up from his terminal. Dr. Marin, the calibration is ready, but once we fire this pulse, the QCA will need hours to cool down. If it fails. It won't, she replied, her voice steady, though her eyes betrayed her worry. We don't have another option. Dr. Marin connected to General Kor, who was leading the defense on the surface. General, we're ready. Initiating the pulse in 30 seconds. Tell your forces to prepare for an opening. Kor nodded, his face weary but resolute. We'll be ready. Just make it count, Dr. Marin. With a final breath, Dr. Marin activated the pulse, sending a high-frequency surge through the Nezari network. Across the planet, the effects were immediate. On the Nezari flagship the Velora, Talon staggered as the collective consciousness momentarily went dark, cutting off his connection to the ground forces. Panic surged through him. This was something he had never experienced. Nezari warriors, trained to function as extensions of one mind, suddenly felt the profound silence of isolation. The familiar presence of their comrades was gone, and confusion took hold. All over Earth, Nezari soldiers faltered, their precision unraveling as they struggled to operate without the shared hive intelligence that made them formidable. Many Nezari soldiers froze, while others began to stumble back, retreating without orders to guide them. The once coordinated assault descended into chaos, and Earth's forces saw their opportunity. In New Tokyo, Captain An Takahashi and his rebels launched a counterattack. With the Nezari disoriented, An's team took control of key intersections, dismantling their plasma cannons and driving back the towering soldiers. Push forward! An shouted over the comms, adrenaline coursing through his veins. They're falling apart, don't give them time to regroup. Across every battlefield, humanity rallied, seizing the advantage. Tanks rolled through shattered streets, fighter jets soared through broken skies, and ground troops surged forward, their morale bolstered by the sight of the mighty Nezari in retreat. Back on the Velora, Talon was seething. His perfect strategy, his unblemished record, was crumbling before his eyes. Desperation twisted his features, but he would not allow himself to succumb to panic. The Nezari had come too far, sacrificed too much, to let this small, defiant world ruin everything. He turned to Captain Jaira, who was struggling to maintain control over the fractured network. Captain, reconnect the collective. Override the pulse, by any means necessary. Jaira's face was tense. Supreme Admiral, the human pulse has corrupted our systems. Restoring full connection will take hours, possibly longer. We may need to withdraw and regroup. Talon's eyes blazed. Withdraw? Are you suggesting we run from these primitives? She met his gaze, hesitating only briefly. No, sir. But if we continue without the collective, we're vulnerable. We must be cautious. Talon's fury simmered, but he could see the truth in her words. Gritting his teeth, he relented. Very well. Initiate a defensive perimeter around the Velora. Recall the ground forces to defensive positions. Captain Jaira nodded, quickly relaying orders. The Nezari soldiers began to withdraw from the city centers, forming a guarded line around their landing zones, where they braced for Earth's counterattacks. As the Nezari consolidated, a new signal crackled across Earth's communication networks. Lucas picked it up first, his eyes widening as he decoded the message. Dr. Marin, you're not going to believe this, he said, swiveling his chair to face her. It's an alien signal, but not Nezari. Someone else is trying to contact us. Dr. Marin's brow furrowed. Who else would be out there? They call themselves the Kasari, Lucas replied, excitement and caution mingling in his tone. And they say they are here to help. The Kasari message was short and direct. They had been monitoring the conflict and had a long-standing grudge against the Nezari Empire. Earth's unexpected resilience had impressed them, and they offered assistance in return for an alliance against their common foe. Dr. Marin wasted no time patching the Kasari transmission through to General Core. On the screen appeared the figure of a Kasari commander, her tall, slender form adorned in metallic armor with a subtle iridescent sheen. I am Commander Varen of the Kasari Unity. We wish to stand with you in this fight. Together, we can push back the Nezari and reclaim what they have taken from us all. Core's gaze hardened. Why now, Commander? What's in this for you? Varen's violet eyes glinted with intensity. The Nezari have oppressed countless worlds, and we have waited too long to act. But you, Earth, you are fighting them like no world we have ever seen. You give us hope. Core looked at Dr. Marin, then back at Varen. The alliance was risky, but Earth had little choice. Then let's make this a fight they won't forget. As Kasari ships entered Earth's orbit, the combined forces of humanity and the Kasari began a coordinated assault on the Nezari fleet. The Kasari brought technology that Earth's engineers could barely comprehend: energy shields, pulse disruptors, and precision plasma beams that could cut through Nezari armor like paper. Lieutenant Ava Raines, now flying in a Kasari-enhanced jet, led the Phoenix Wing in a daring raid against one of the Nezari destroyers. With the Kasari's upgrades, Ava's squadron moved like shadows through the battle, evading the Nezari's fire and striking from all directions. Phoenix leader to Phoenix Wing, Ava called over the comms, her voice crackling with exhilaration. Focus on their engines, let's cripple their mobility. Her squadron responded with deadly precision, weaving through the Nezari fleet, landing devastating blows that sent the Nezari ships drifting aimlessly through space. On the ground, Captain An Takahashi and his resistance cell joined forces with Kasari soldiers, who fought with graceful, lethal efficiency. Together, they reclaimed key areas of New Tokyo, driving the Nezari back inch by inch. Commander Varen fought alongside Earth's forces, her lithe form moving with practiced ease as she wielded a weapon that emitted blinding bursts of energy. She looked to Anne with a nod of approval. Your people are stronger than we imagined, Captain. The Nezari will regret underestimating you. Anne grinned, adrenaline and determination evident in his eyes. They already do. Despite the success of the joint offensive, Talon remained unyielding. He could not retreat, not when so much of his empire's reputation rested on this conquest. But his forces were crumbling, and even he could see that defeat loomed. In a final act of desperation, Talon devised a plan. If he could not claim Earth, he would leave nothing of it for anyone else. He ordered the activation of a devastating weapon hidden within the Velora, the Nova Core, an unstable energy reactor that, if detonated, would destroy Earth and everything in its orbit. Admiral, this is madness. Captain Gyra protested, horror in her eyes. You will destroy everything, our own people included. Talon's gaze was unflinching. The Nezari Empire does not lose. If Earth will not submit, they will be a warning to the galaxy. But Captain Gyra, once loyal to a fault, could no longer bear his ruthlessness. She knew that the Nezari way had always been conquest, but annihilating an entire world went beyond even their grim code. As Talon turned to initiate the countdown, Gyra reached for her plasma blade, her voice steady. Not this time, Admiral. The Nezari are wrong, and I will not be a part of this. In a swift, decisive move, she deactivated the console, delaying the countdown, and then turned to face her shocked crew, a mix of fear and hope in their eyes. Who among you will stand with me to stop this madness? she called out. The Nezari officers, torn between fear of retribution and their conscience, hesitated. But one by one, they stepped forward, joining Gyra. Meanwhile, Earth and Kasari forces had learned of the Nova Corps threat from intercepted signals. Dr. Marin and Lucas, desperate to prevent the detonation, scrambled to hack into the Velora's control systems remotely. With Varen's help, they devised a plan to transmit a final pulse strong enough to disable the Nova Corps before it was too late. "Let's end this, once and for all," Dr. Marin whispered as she initiated the pulse, sending it racing towards the Velora, carrying with it the hope of Earth and the defiance of a united galaxy. As Dr. Marin's final pulse raced toward the Velora, the bridge of the Nezari flagship was a storm of tension and chaos. Talon watched in disbelief as his officers turned against him, standing beside Captain Gyra, who had defied him in an act of unprecedented betrayal. Fury simmered within him, but before he could react, the pulse hit, and the ship's systems shuddered, lights dimming and consoles flickering. "The Nova Corps is offline," an officer reported, a look of relief mixed with disbelief on his face. "Earth's signal has overridden our commands." Gyra exhaled, her tense posture relaxing as she turned back to the bridge crew. "It's over, Talon," she said, her voice calm yet resolute. "Your reign ends here." Talon's face contorted in rage, his pride unwilling to accept the reality before him. But, outnumbered and outmatched, he had no choice. With a bitter, venomous glare, he stepped back, defeated but unbroken. "You may have delayed your destruction," he spat, "but the Nezari Empire will not forget this humiliation." Gyra did not waver. "Perhaps it's time the Empire did more than remember. Perhaps it's time we learned." With Talon's forces now leaderless and the Velora in a compromised state, the Kasari seized the opportunity to negotiate terms. Varen sent an immediate broadcast across the remaining Nezari fleet, offering them a choice: lay down their weapons and stand trial for their actions or risk being hunted by a coalition far stronger than they had anticipated. Many Nezari commanders, witnessing the collapse of their once feared Armada, chose surrender over annihilation. A tentative ceasefire settled over Earth, the skies finally clear of Nezari assault as the alien ships backed away to the outer edges of the planet's orbit. Dr. Marin and Lucas monitored the surrender from the underground control center, the relief in the room palpable. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity dared to hope that peace was within reach. "What now?" Lucas asked, glancing at Dr. Marin with tired eyes. She thought for a moment, reflecting on the cost of victory. "Now," she said, "we rebuild, and remember. Because they'll be watching us, waiting for us to falter." In the days that followed, Earth's leaders worked closely with the Kasari to solidify their alliance. Varen proposed the formation of a joint task force, dedicated to patrolling and defending Earth's borders. In exchange, Earth would share its quantum cascade technology with the Kasari, a powerful tool now tested and proven. General Kor and Varen met one final time on the battle-scarred fields outside New Tokyo. They walked amidst the debris of the Nezari war machines, remnants of humanity's greatest stand. "You've proven that Earth is more than a backwater world," Varen remarked. "The Kasari unity would be honored to fight by your side. Together, we could stand against the Nezari, and perhaps even reshape the galaxy." Kor nodded, though his expression was somber. "We'll fight if we have to, but Earth doesn't seek to conquer. We fought to survive, not to claim power. I hope the galaxy remembers that." Varen studied him, nodding in quiet understanding. "Then perhaps Earth can be a new kind of power, one of influence, rather than domination." Back on the Velora, Gyra and her allies sought to pick up the pieces of the fractured Nezari fleet. Now acting as the interim leader, Gyra sent word to the Nezari homeworld of Talon's defeat. Her message was a direct call for reform, urging the Empire to abandon its brutal conquest policies and seek diplomatic relations with other worlds. Many in the Nezari fleet were uncertain about this new direction, but others, warned by the relentless cycle of conquest, welcomed the change. For the first time in generations, the Nezari faced the possibility of a future beyond expansion and domination. Talon, under guard, was brought before Gyra, his expression as cold and unyielding as ever. "You've betrayed everything our empire stands for," he sneered. "You've weakened us." "I saved us," Gyra replied, meeting his gaze. "The Nezari must change, or we will crumble. This defeat will be our awakening." Talon's defiant stare held steady, but for a moment, there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes. With the Nezari Armada gone, Earth's cities began the long process of rebuilding. While the scars of battle remained, humanity emerged stronger, more unified than ever. World leaders continued the diplomatic talks with Varen and other Kasari representatives, forging what would be known as the Coalition of Allied Worlds, a union built on mutual respect, defense, and shared knowledge. Dr. Marin, hailed as a hero, returned to her research but was frequently consulted on the new quantum cascade defenses, which were now central to Earth's security. Meanwhile, Lucas, having proven himself in the heat of battle, was offered a position as Earth's liaison with the Kasari. Together, they worked tirelessly to ensure that the coalition remained strong. General Kor led Earth's new defense initiative, preparing humanity for the challenges to come. "We've won the battle," he reminded them often, "but the galaxy is vast, and there will always be new threats. We stand vigilant, not out of fear but out of determination." Months passed, and the coalition of Allied Worlds grew. As the scars of battle faded, Earth became a symbol of resilience across the galaxy, and its influence began to spread. But the remnants of the Nezari Empire simmered in discontent. While Gyra's leadership brought hope of reform, factions within the Empire sought to restore the old ways, plotting from the shadows. One such faction, led by Talon's former supporters, worked in secret to undermine Gyra's authority. They believed the Nezari had been humiliated and saw Earth as a threat that must be eliminated. Whispers of a new conspiracy reached the coalition, and Earth's leaders knew that vigilance was more important than ever. In a hidden council chamber on a distant Nezari colony, Talon, now a fugitive, met with his allies, their faces obscured by shadow. "This isn't over," he vowed. "Earth may have delayed their destruction, but I will see to it that they pay the ultimate price." Under the watchful eyes of the coalition, Earth and its allies stood ready, aware that the peace they had fought for was fragile. As humanity looked to the stars, they understood that they had not only survived but had become something far greater. No longer isolated, Earth was now part of a vast network of worlds, united by a shared determination to resist oppression and foster peace. In the silence of the cosmos, the galaxy watched, as the once fractured world rose to meet its destiny, not as conquerors, but as guardians of freedom and defenders of life in all its forms. And as Earth's new coalition patrolled the starlit skies, Talon's defiant words lingered, a reminder that vigilance was not just a choice but a necessity in an ever-shifting galaxy. Though peace had come, humanity stood prepared, knowing that one day, they would again be called to prove that their spirit was, and always would be, unbreakable. Talon's exile did little to diminish his resolve. Driven by anger and wounded pride, he dedicated himself to creating a secret weapon that would restore his power. After months of covert work, he and his loyal followers developed a device they called the Annihilator Core, a superweapon capable of collapsing entire star systems. Fueled by exotic particles harnessed from the edges of black holes, it was unlike anything the Nezari or the Coalition had seen. Hiding on a forgotten Nezari outpost, Talon prepared to test the weapon. If successful, he would use it to demonstrate the Nezari's dominance once again, targeting Earth and the Coalition worlds in an act of pure retaliation. But to activate the Annihilator Core, he needed to gather more resources, and that meant striking back. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Marin sensed something disturbing. She'd been studying the unusual energy patterns emitted from distant regions near black holes, suspecting it might be linked to Talon. Consulting with Varen, she confirmed her fears. The Nezari ex-admiral had been experimenting with hyperdestructive energy sources. Coalition leaders quickly gathered on New Geneva, a neutral planet designated as the headquarters of the Coalition. Representing Earth, General Kor delivered a message to the Council. Talon is no longer just a rogue Nezari. He's an imminent threat to all Coalition worlds. He is planning a weapon of unimaginable destruction, one that, if deployed, could end all life in a single strike. The council room erupted in murmurs. Varen and Kasari representatives exchanged grave glances, while leaders of other planets prepared for the worst. They all agreed Talon had to be stopped before he could test or deploy his weapon. A task force led by Ava Raines and Ann Takahashi was established to track Talon's hidden base. They called it Operation Phantom Hunt. Equipped with cutting-edge reconnaissance technology provided by the Kasari, the team traced energy spikes across remote sectors, following the breadcrumbs Talon left in his wake. Flying through uncharted space, Ava scanned the vast emptiness with mounting anticipation. He's smart, he'll have hidden himself somewhere no one would think to look. Maybe a place as hostile as he is. Anne, watching the stars from his seat, nodded. But everyone slips up eventually. The more desperate he gets, the more careless he'll become. Days turned into weeks as the team traversed one uninhabitable world after another. Then, at the edge of Coalition space, they picked up an unusual signal, a concentrated energy source near an asteroid belt surrounding a small, dead planet. "This is it," Ava said, her voice tense with determination. "Talon's there. Let's move in, and let's be prepared for anything." The task force advanced quietly, surrounding the asteroid belt to cut off any escape routes. But Talon was prepared. His defense systems detected the intruders, and with a sadistic smile, he activated his fleet of automated drones and hidden mines. As the Coalition ships drew closer, they were met with a barrage of relentless fire. Ava and Anne maneuvered through the chaos, weaving between asteroids and enemy fire. Explosions erupted all around them, casting an eerie glow on the darkened landscape of space. Talon watched from his hidden command post, his satisfaction growing as the Coalition struggled. "These pathetic humans and their allies think they can corner me," he muttered to himself. "But they'll see, Earth will be nothing but a memory." Dr. Marin, monitoring the battle from the Coalition's command center, devised a plan. She directed Lucas to send out a signal interference pulse, disabling the mines momentarily and giving the task force a window to penetrate Talon's defense grid. "Everyone, this is our chance," Ava called out. "Push forward and get closer to his base." Breaking through the defense grid, Ava and Anne led a small team into Talon's stronghold. As they approached the core of the facility, they were met by Talon himself, flanked by his remaining loyalists. His eyes blazed with a cold fury, a mixture of pride and hatred for the humans who had forced him to such measures. "So, Earth's champions have come to die in person?" Talon sneered, his hands clasped behind his back. "You think you can take me down?" Ava held her ground, her expression unwavering. "It's over, Talon. The Nezari have moved on without you, and the galaxy will never submit to your madness. Surrender, or we'll take you down." Talon let out a harsh laugh. "Surrender? I'd sooner die than give up. And you, humans, are about to witness true power." With a signal to his remaining soldiers, he activated the Annihilator core. Alarms blared, and the ground trembled as the reactor began to build to a catastrophic charge. Anne looked at Ava, urgency flashing in his eyes. "We have to stop that reactor. If it goes off, it won't just destroy this place, it'll create a chain reaction that could wipe out this entire sector." With only minutes before detonation, Ava, Anne, and their team sprinted toward the control room. They fought their way through Talon's loyalists, their every step met with resistance. Dr. Marin, back in the Coalition Command Center, provided technical guidance, helping them bypass security systems and reach the Annihilator core. The device was a towering structure, humming with unstable energy. Lucas analyzed the data coming in and relayed instructions on how to disarm it. "Ava, there should be a control panel on the upper level." But be careful, the energy buildup is highly volatile, Lucas warned. Ava scaled the structure, reaching the control panel and inputting the sequence Lucas provided. But Talon, refusing to concede, activated a lockdown sequence, trapping Ava and Anne inside the reactor chamber. He appeared on a monitor, his face twisted in contempt. "I told you, I'd rather die than surrender. You'll die here with me, heroes of Earth." With the countdown nearing 0, Ava and Anne worked together to override the lockdown. As the reactor's energy reached critical levels, they finally managed to disable the primary core sequence, halting the impending explosion with only seconds to spare. Ava collapsed to the ground, relief and exhaustion washing over her. Anne looked at her, offering a shaky smile. "We did it. It's over." But before they could celebrate, Talon, wounded and desperate, entered the chamber, plasma blade in hand. His expression was one of sheer rage, a man who had lost everything and would take vengeance at any cost. "I'm not finished yet," he hissed, lunging at them. In a tense, final confrontation, Ava and Anne fought against Talon in the shadows of the now silent reactor. Though weary from the battle, they matched his fury with sheer determination, each blow a testament to humanity's resilience. Finally, in a moment of vulnerability, Ava disarmed him, and Anne delivered the final blow, ending Talon's reign once and for all. They looked down at the fallen admiral, the threat that had cast such a dark shadow over their world now silenced. For a moment, there was only silence, the calm after the storm. Returning to Earth, Ava, Anne, and the Coalition Task Force were hailed as heroes. The coalition of allied worlds strengthened, their unity a beacon of hope and resilience. With the Nezari Empire now under reform and Talon's insurrection quelled, humanity took its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as allies and protectors. The battle-scarred cities of Earth began to rebuild, and the coalition looked to the future, determined to foster peace. Dr. Marin, Lucas, and the leaders of the allied worlds continued their work, understanding that the price of freedom was eternal vigilance. Though the shadows of war had faded, humanity remained vigilant, forever prepared to defend the hope they had forged from the ashes. The galaxy would remember Earth's story, a story of courage, sacrifice, and the indomitable spirit of those who dared to fight for a brighter future. With Talon gone and his insurrection dismantled, a sense of peace washed over Earth and its allies. The coalition of allied worlds, once a fragile alliance forged under the threat of annihilation, now evolved into a thriving federation. Humanity and the Kasari worked tirelessly alongside other liberated worlds to build a future where war was no longer a tool of conquest but a reminder of what was at stake. Dr. Marin, now a respected figure in the coalition, devoted her research to peaceful technologies that could restore war-torn planets, converting military resources into advances in energy and medicine. Varen and Captain Jaira, who had guided the Nezari toward change, continued their mission to steer the former empire away from its past of oppression. They faced resistance but found allies among the Nezari who had grown weary of endless battles. As Earth rebuilt, General Kor, Ava, and Anne traveled frequently to coalition worlds, sharing their experience and vision. General Kor worked to establish an academy dedicated to diplomacy, peacekeeping, and defense. Ava and Anne, having witnessed firsthand the horrors of Talon's insurrection, committed to ensuring such a threat would never rise again. One evening, under the glowing stars of New Geneva, coalition leaders gathered to discuss the future. They sat around a vast table, their eyes filled with hope and wonder at the possibilities that lay ahead. The scars of war had not faded completely, but they had transformed into symbols of resilience and unity. Varen spoke, raising a glass. "We once looked at Earth as a backward, insignificant world. Now we see that it is Earth's spirit that has united us all. Let it be known that humanity's fight has not just saved Earth, but it has inspired a galaxy." As the coalition representatives shared stories and toasts, a final transmission from the Velora arrived. Jaira, now the official leader of the Nezari, sent her congratulations on the success of the coalition. She pledged to continue the reform of the Nezari Empire and to support the coalition's vision of peace. A token of goodwill, she offered a gift, a massive, glittering crystal harvested from a Nezari core world, a symbol of their new commitment to unity. "Consider it a promise," she said. "A promise that we, too, are ready to embrace a future without conquest." In the days that followed, Earth and its allies bid farewell to the Coalition's heroes. Ava, Anne, and General Kor, having served through the darkest days, were given honors and remembered as the defenders of the dawn. In the skies above Earth, the Coalition held a grand ceremony, starships from every allied world forming a tribute in the shape of Earth's insignia. Dr. Marin watched the formation, her heart swelling with pride. The sound of Coalition anthems filled the air, a chorus of voices from across the galaxy, each melody a testament to their shared journey. Standing beside Lucas, she looked toward the stars and felt, for the first time, that Earth was truly part of something greater. "Think they'll remember us?" Lucas asked, smiling. Marin looked at him, eyes bright with hope. "I think they'll remember us as long as the stars shine. We became more than survivors, Lucas. We became symbols of hope." Years passed, and the coalition of allied worlds grew. Earth's children learned of the battles their parents had fought and the sacrifices they had made. They were taught not only the cost of war but the value of peace, the strength of unity, and the responsibility to protect freedom. Ava and Anne, now instructors at the Coalition Academy, trained the next generation of peacekeepers and diplomats, passing on the lessons of their experiences. They walked through the halls filled with students of all species, their hearts swelling with pride at the sight of so many united in a common goal. Varen and the Kasari thrived, leading advancements in coalition technology and expanding their cultural exchange with Earth and other worlds. Through them, the galaxy learned to appreciate its diversity, to see every world as a treasure trove of knowledge and beauty. Even the Nezari, once Earth's fiercest foes, found their place. Under Gyra's guidance, they transformed, joining the coalition as a reformed society committed to peace. Talon's memory faded, his destructive legacy a cautionary tale that reminded the galaxy of the dangers of unchecked ambition. Years into the coalition's golden age, an unexpected message arrived. It was from deep in unexplored space, carrying a strange yet hopeful signal. To Earth and all worlds of the coalition, it read: "We are the explorers of a distant galaxy, seeking peace, seeking connection. We have watched from afar and seen the courage of your worlds, the unity of your coalition. We extend a hand in friendship across the stars." The message sparked a new wave of excitement across the coalition. The era of exploration, thought to be over, was only beginning. Humanity, once on the brink of extinction, now stood ready to reach even further, to connect with the stars beyond their galaxy. In the spirit of adventure, a new coalition fleet was assembled, bearing the symbol of unity on every hull. And as humanity and its allies looked toward the vast unknown, they understood that their greatest story was yet to come, a story of connection, exploration, and hope that would echo through the cosmos. The galaxy awaited, and the coalition of allied worlds was ready.